Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Let's Chat with me, Gillian Stephen.
And me, Adrian Anderson.
Today we are going to be talking about national standardised assessments. As I've already said, my name is Gillian Stephen. I am the primary segment manager for Twinkl Scotland. I look after a range of the content lines, which includes Leading Learning, which is who are creating these resources to help us understand the kind of policies and systems that happen within Scottish schools. There's also Twinkl Alba, which looks after all of the Gaelic resources that are created. We have Twinkl Classic, which is your bread and butter for what's happening within your classroom on a daily basis, and Twinkl Play if you are a play-based setting. So that's my job, to kind of make sure they're all getting shouted about. But today we are focused on Leading Learning, which is led by the lovely Adrian Anderson.
I'm laughing, the lovely. Yes, I'm Adrian, and I am the educational content lead here at Twinkl Scotland for the Leading Learning content line. As Gillian has mentioned there, my job basically is to ensure that the content that we are creating is aligned to Scottish educational policy. So the Leading Learning content line tends to focus on a lot of the adult-facing content, planning, tracking, assessment, and so on. So that's why I am here today to talk about SNSAs, Scottish National Standardised Assessments, NSAs, whatever you call them in your school. I'm here with Gillian to discuss all of that with you today.
Excellent. So my personal favourite is a SNSA. I love that we can refer to it as a SNSA, but the Scottish National Standardised Assessments have been around since 2017. They are implemented in Primary 1, P4, P7 and S3. And I'm sure all of you have been involved in either implementing them or you're getting geared up to do it. But we thought today we would just take time to talk about the different resources we have created to help you in the build-up and the implementation and just really understanding what they are. So let's do what we do at the beginning of all these episodes, Adrian. Dumb it down for me. Tell me, what are the National Standardised Assessments?
So, National Standardised Assessments, NSAs, SNSAs, I'm going to just stick with one of them. They are standardised assessments that focus on key aspects of literacy, so reading, writing, spelling, grammar and punctuation, and numeracy. It's important to mention that their core purpose is diagnostic and formative. They're not a summative assessment. And I'm saying that because they should provide us with objective, nationally consistent information about a learner's strength and areas for development to help us plan the next steps in learning and teaching. They're online assessments, so you complete them using a desktop computer, a laptop or tablet, whatever suits your setting. They're adaptive in nature, so questions will become harder for the learner if the learner answers them correctly, and again, it will become easier if it picks up that a learner is struggling, and that will help pinpoint.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's great because you have some kids who are they just sit and click, don't they? And they can be lucky and click the right answer a few times in a row, but eventually it figures out and it does kind of keep it at that child level, which is so helpful.
Yeah, and because of that, because it is adaptive, it will help pinpoint the current level of ability to give you useful information to allow you to plan the next steps in learning. There's no pass or fail with these, and children shouldn't be, coached, and it shouldn't be built up as a big thing for them. They're designed and should be used as part of a routine classroom activity. I know that's tricky with P1s because, sitting down and completing an assessment on a laptop or a iPad for a length of time is quite challenging. So yeah, they are, as you mentioned, designed to be used in Primary 1, Primary 4 and Primary 7. The data that they generate should be used to inform a professional judgement. So it's part of all the assessments that we use in school. We shouldn't just use the results of these to make a judgment on achievement of curriculum for excellence level. They are just one part, that jigsaw that we spoke about in the last episode. They're just
So as a class teacher, if I can jump in, if that's okay. So we forgot to mention at the beginning of the episode that I've got like 17 years classroom experience and you've got over 20 years, 10 of that as a head. What I would like to ask, so from a classroom teacher perspective, if I had a child who maybe performed quite poorly and or something was going on that day and they had an off day, as so many children can have, the results that come from that, my professional judgments and my previous assessments that we've talked about before, can they make a difference to what the outcome of that is? Like how does that work, if you don't mind me asking? Put you on the spot, Adrian, sorry.
Teacher professional judgment trumps all, in my opinion. So the SNSAs provide one piece of evidence that sits alongside a much wider range of ongoing day-to-day assessments, high-quality assessments, and so on. So as the professional, you know the learner best, you know their strengths, you know their areas for development much better than a standardised assessment is going to tell you. Because as you've mentioned, that result from an SNSA is a snapshot in time. You have got the broader range of evidence and assessment data to inform that professional decision. So teacher professional judgment trumps, and the SNSAs are just one tiny part of your professional judgment.
And if you do want to find out a bit more, we've got some resources to help you. So I've got one here. I'm just going to make sure I'm sharing the right things. So this resource here, what are national standardised assessments, you can find if you search that online, or if you search it on any of your search engines, it will come up there as well. But this one here, if I was just to download that. So yes, so this one here, if I was to download it, you would find it within the Lead and Learning content line, but it's called What are National Standardised Assessments? And it is just a document that will run through what all of that looks like. So I can share that with you here. It explains how they work in reading, writing, and numeracy, the different things that are assessed. But sorry, you continue, Adrian.
No, I was just going to say that first document there, What are National Standardised Assessments, just summarise everything that we've just mentioned. I'll just give you a bit more information about the areas that are assessed. That document there's got the actual organisers within reading, within writing, and within numeracy. I think the important part is for writing that, yeah, you get information about writing from a national standardised assessment, but the children aren't actually writing. It's assessing those tools for writing. So it's assessing the spelling, grammar, and punctuation. So it's one organiser within writing that it is assessing. And you'll see that the reading and numeracy, there's obviously the other organisers in those curricular areas there.
Another resource which we thought might be quite useful is this one here, which curriculum areas are assessed by national standardised assessments, which is what we've just sort of mentioned there as well. This downloads as a similar style, but just goes into a little bit more depth about what each one cover, from reading, the writing, and the numeracy and mathematics that we've got here. So these are really good if you, once you've listened to us drone on about them and you want to learn a little bit more, you can go and have a look through these. Just gives you a little bit more information. There's also a blog that we've written that's going to go through this in a lot more detail as well, which I think is just really useful if you are perhaps in a year, maybe it's your first time in a year group that's going to be going through these assessments. For example, I haven't taught on a primary one since these were introduced. So if I had taken on a primary one this year, I would maybe be wanting to read up on all this stuff, and which probably nicely leads on to the last part of implementing them. So that looks different in different classrooms. You're not going to implement an assessment with a primary one the way that you would do it with your primary 7. Do you want to, will I share this resource just now, or do you want to talk about that first? How would that?
Share that resource. It's important to mention that the assessments are obviously administered once in the school year, but it's up to the individual school, or it could be the local authority, or use the class teacher that decides the most appropriate time for the child to take them. It's important that it fits into the flow of learning and teaching. So I know from my experience in the schools that I led for primary 7, I liked to get them out the way in term 1 so that we had that diagnostic information to plan the next steps in learning. The same with primary 4, we carried that out probably term 1, term 2, just so we've got that information that we could actually use. And primary 1s, obviously, I would leave that. Personally, I would leave that to a bit late in the year, but as I've mentioned, it's down to the individual child. It's down to the information you've got. It's down to what your school or local authority have decided. So there's no set date across all of Scotland when they need to be completed. The implementation, that document there is a massive document because, as we mentioned before, we should be using these assessments, building them into our everyday classroom activities to give us one piece of assessment evidence. There is quite a lot of evidence that you get from this. There's a variety of reports that you get from the system. So group diagnostic reports, you get that in summary mode, table mode, individual reports. There's a whole range of information that you must pull apart and look at when you're analysing it. But the part there that you've got up, that I can't see the screen, but has it got the individual report summary there in the
yes,
blue box?
that's exactly where I'm at. It's like one mind, Adrian, one mind.
So in those individual reports, the first paragraph will have a statement, and these terms are used in that statement to give you that general overview. So it's got demonstrated strength in, so it'll give you areas where the learner has performed better than expected, performed as appropriate, and needs to concentrate on, so the areas that will form the next steps in learning. So that first summary in the individual reports give you that overview at the very start. The bit below that, Gillian,
is descriptors.
Yeah, so you'll see there that the SNSAs are split between 12 bands, but obviously in primary 1, it goes from band 1 to 6, and then primary 4, you'll see there 4 to 9, and so on. They're red, amber, and green there to help you look at the information and make, informed decisions. So a primary 1 child in the band 1 and band 2, it's just rags them red, amber, green to give you an idea of where they are sitting. You'll get within the reports information about the class, information about the school and what that looks like nationally. So it's just to give you a bit more information on the highest band and lowest band within each stage, primary 1, 4, 7 and S3. And if you scroll further down, Gillian, this document goes into a lot more detail of what the bands need for their particular stage. I could talk about this for hours, but I reckon I would have this document with you whilst you are analysing it and building up a picture, because it's important that you pull the important information from it, because quite a lot of the information can feel overwhelming. It's how do you collate it in a way that's going to give you the information that you require to identify learner strengths and identify next steps in learning. So,
and that is it, isn't it? It's getting the next steps. It's seeing where those gaps are and changing your practice and what you've got coming up and your planning to build on that. And we had a kind of interesting conversation earlier. We were talking about if you're the teacher implementing these and how you do it and how it looks different if you're a primary 1 to how you're doing the P7. P7s, I would have just said, right, we're just going to go on with it today. We're just going to go and do it. But I wouldn't have built it up and been like, oh, we're going to do this big, scary, it's a big assessment. It's really important for your learning. I wouldn't kind of put that onus on it. I wouldn't give them that thing. And especially with the primary 1s, it'd be like, hey, you're going to come and do a job. But you told me a little tip for if you were doing it for the younger ones and how that you don't have to do it from beginning to end. And I think that was a game changer for me.
Yeah, there is a way that you do not, once you start an assessment, it doesn't need to be finished there and then, you know, because you can have some children sitting over break and lunchtime as it keeps asking further questions. So, you know, make sure you're aware of how to stop the assessment and then be able to come back into it, because things happen in a school, you know. I mean, imagine a fire drill or something.
Fire alarm, everybody's,
you know, or a child becomes upset, unwell, etc. You know, you can stop the assessment and then come back to it at a later time. So it's not once you've started, that's it. There's no going back.
I think especially for your little ones is so good, because their attention spans can't sit for that length of time, or and there's such a, classrooms are so busy. We all know that, but it is good to know that it's, once you've started, you can take a break and you can have a wee stop.
No, absolutely. And I mean, there is quite a lot of reading and things, especially for the primary ones. You know, it's important that a learner's completing them at a place and in a time that they're most comfortable. But also it's important to mention that, you know, with learners with additional support needs, that, you know, it's not compulsory. I wouldn't say that they have to do the assessment. You can make that professional judgment on, I don't think I'm going to get information that's going to be beneficial from this assessment. So you would use your professional understanding of a particular learner to make the decision on, this is not going to provide me with any additional information. And obviously that will be a discussion you'd have with senior management and parents and things in your school. But it's important to remember that as a professional, you know your learners best and you are the voice for them as well. So please, you know, make decisions based on your professional judgment.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I think, as you said, you could talk about this for a really long time, and you did tell me that I had to rein you in and not let you go on and on and on. And there's so much information on those 3 documents themselves that are available for you to download. There'll be a blog as well that we will share in the description below, so that you can go and find it all out there. And as always, if you have any questions, you can get in touch with us at hello@twinkl.scot or through any of our social media channels. You'll find us at Twinkl Scotland on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, and we're always happy to answer any questions. So please do feel free to get in touch if this is something that you need more information or advice on.
Absolutely, because we have mentioned about running a TeachSpeak webinar on this topic and on high quality assessments that we discussed last time. So we are working in the background to bring something where we're able to go into a lot more detail. But this is just a taster for you to go and print off, download the resources and explore them at your own leisure.
Absolutely. But yes, thanks again, everybody, for joining us for episode 4 of Let's Chat. We will be back again soon. If you haven't already, go and watch episodes 1, 2 and 3, where we talk about moderation, formative assessment and high quality assessments, all of which have led us to this week's, and will make more sense when we meet again next week. So thank you so much. Nice to chat again with you, Adrian. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.